Hello everyone, welcome to another SCAA, or Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous. I'm Nikki Batgirl D'Angelo, your host. Alright, today I'm going to talk about mining, and we're going to take out this beautiful little thing, the MISC Prospector. And it's not beautiful, and it is little. A little too little, in my estimation, for mining, but it's a starter ship for a profession, even though it's $150, but it's a really interesting mechanic that they've created for mining. And the Prospector is the perfect one-man, one-woman, I guess, machine to get it done. Now, you're not going to make a lot of money mining if you don't know exactly what you're looking for. And you're not going to make a lot of money mining if you're not minding your mining. And what I mean by that, you've got to understand the mechanic, and you have to go out and make sure that you just don't mine the first rock that you come to. And yes, I'm saying rocks. I know mining is going to be fleshed out over time. And I really think that CIG is on the pathway of making mining, I'm not going to say it's fun. There's never been a game that I've mined in that's fun, whether it be things like World of Warcraft or things like Star Wars Galaxies or Star Wars The Old Republic, or things like, I mean, because you can mine in all these games, right? Minecraft was all about mining. And of course, Eve and my other passion, Elite Dangerous, have mining in it, but it's not so fun. It's a very boring exercise. But in real life, you know what? Mining is very monotonous and boring. They can't make something more fun. But what they could do is make it more interesting and make you have to interact with it more, which will keep your attention, which will keep you focused, if that's what you want to do. And there are some people that are going to be miners. Some people are going to be cargo haulers. Some people are going to be scavengers. And none of these have the high energy and risk, well, they all have risk, believe me, associated with it, like being a bounty hunter or a mercenary or a fighter pilot for the UEE Navy would have, or a local militia for that. But mining, nonetheless, has been made interesting. So I'm going to go over a couple of the mechanics right now and talk about first, I'm going to go negative first, and then I'm going to come back to the positives. The negative is going to be more about the nature of Star Citizen right now and not mining. And then the positive is going to show you off a very successful mining run that I had. Although I didn't make a lot of money because I didn't look for the high-end minerals that you have to mine, I still found it much easier after logging in for a third and fourth time. So let's get moving to the next part of this video. We're going to be on Daymar for the first part of this video. So for mining, the first thing that you do, and I'm sure you've seen this all before, is you bring up the scanner. The scanner will potentially move you into different locations. In other words, it will highlight an area that would have a high concentration of some kind of mineral. So you're going to find the scanner works intermittently on Daymar. That's why I'm on Daymar. It might be different for you. Like, my results might not be your results, but my results, I have repeated the process many times and gone through it and found that Daymar is not my favorite place to mine this weekend, because this weekend was a free-to-fly weekend, and everybody was on. And we'll talk about that part in between the good and, well, the bad and then the good. So what I find is that mining is very, very, very linked closely, very, very closely linked to the lag on the server. Because in mining, you have to use the scanner, which we did, and then go over to mining mode to actually get a look at what the rock is. So this rock, this node, is going to have corundum, I think. Conundrum. It's a conundrum. And I don't find that to be that interesting of a mineral to mine, though later on when they bring in some kind of crafting element, that might be something that we need to make certain materials, to make certain equipment or fabricate certain buildings. I'm not sure. So we're going to keep looking at these rocks. I'm going to find in a lot of different ways that these rocks are going to have the same items. And that is something I expect to be true. I hope that when they do mining, they're going to have a field that's mostly one element and maybe some trace elements from, you know, maybe you have conundrum and you have agricium and you have a little bit of gold and diamond. Or maybe you find a diamond patch and has a tiny bit of other related elements, like we're not going to need them, but maybe ruby and emerald. I guess they're just going to stick with diamond. Why make things that diverse at this point? So you came up with the first problem that I have. This server was very laggy, and that rock never spawned into view. So I do fly over to this next rock, and I'm going to try to get over to it. And I do a couple of things to try to resync. Occasionally I get desynced, and if I hit my Moby glass and bring it back up and then down again, turn back on mining, it kind of resyncs me to the server. And right now that's mostly an issue because Star Citizen is still in development and we haven't gone through the next piece of it, which is going to be, of course, the object container streaming, which is going to be the beginnings of starting to fine-tune the server connections. I've jumped ahead to a node that I did find. Now, what you do here is you turn on the extraction laser, which looks like that. And the extraction laser is going to start to heat up the rock or provide energy into the rock. You have a throttle for the laser that's going to manage the energy that's actually being output by the laser. The issue here is that the throttle is not tied to your local client, it's tied to the server. So whenever you have server lag, you can see me having it here. It's not smoothly moving through the different numbers. It's actually being very jerky and going up and down and not being, well, it's being bad. And what happens here is my ship gets tossed when the rock blows up because I couldn't turn off the laser and I couldn't back off the throttle. All right, so this is the major issue I have with mining today. It's not that the mechanic isn't good. I think the mechanic is good, and when it works, it's quite interesting. I'm not going to say it's absolutely fun because I don't know if it's really fun, but it's interesting and rewarding, especially if you find a nice patch with a high percentage of agricium in it, and then you make a lot of money, or a couple of other elements that are really rare and have a lot of value in them. But what I found here is that my ship has taken a lot of damage. If you look in the upper left-hand corner of my, I think that's the upper left-hand corner of my visor. It's just top and to the left. You could see the damage outline is red. Not so good right now. So I got hurt and I had to go back to CryoAstro, and then the server crashed, and then, you know, I got a little bit frustrated and just walked away from the game for a little bit. I was trying to film this in one run and come back and do the post, and it just didn't work. And because, thankfully, there's a lot more people playing, there's a lot more load on the server, and I get this a lot. So after I did get everything done, after I did get everything fixed, I crashed yet again. And I walked away yet again. Now, I'm going to just leave it at this loading screen for a few minutes because I also have some other issues with free fly weekends. It kind of brings out the turds. The people that think that preying on new players is a good thing. It's fun. And I don't understand the community that we're part of in Star Citizen. We have a wonderful game that we want people to fall in love with and come and play with us. But on these weekends, every one of these weekends, every Fly Free weekend, we get a bunch of turds. And a lot of it has to do with CIG not implementing any kind of control over people that want to grief at this point, which I don't expect them to because it's still an alpha. But I'll give you a for instance, and yes, I'm talking about you, Scared Potato. Scared Potato got himself a Saber Raven and just waited for anybody that was coming around in the game. and he would EMP them and then destroy them. The Raven right now is just overpowered, and it's pretty awesome too. So thank you so much, CIG, for giving us that ship, and Intel for taking part in that wonderful giveaway, or free ship if you got the Intel Optane memory or SSD. But a lot of times I want to just record, and these turds ruin your day. Scared Potato, and I don't even know the name of the person in his Razor that destroyed me at Cryaster Services. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be griefers, because obviously there's always going to be griefers, but, you know, CIG, a turret on any one of the space stations, some kind of UEE advocacy that shows up will be a welcome change when the game finally goes live. But for the time being, I'll put on my big girl panties and I'll suck it up and I'll get through it, because it's still an alpha and it really doesn't matter. And at the end of the day, I just breathe and let it pass. So after having a frustrating beginning to my day, I took a shower, dried off, went down into my kitchen, grabbed some fruit, some yogurt, tall glass of water, sat out on my porch, breathed in the beautiful and still cool air at that time, and then came back upstairs and shot this one. And this run went perfectly. I left chat up because I just wanted to see what the chat was like. And look at that, my ship just nodded yes to me. But this one seemed to go off without a hitch. So we fly down towards the surface of Yella, and immediately I bring up, yep, that's it, the scanner, and I send off a ping. And the ping immediately gives me a place to go. So there is some elements over there. It's not going to tell me what they are. So I head in that direction and put off another pulse and find that there will be even more elements just over the ridge. So I fly down towards the surface, and I like mining at night because it's easier to see everything. They still have to get to the point after the game is in beta to where they start to make the HUDs a little bit more usable. I think the colors of the HUDs, I think they have to rethink them. In real life, you never have a... They have to figure out technology that makes a HUD work more like a real life one. Alright, so we have a lot of different rocks over here. So we're going to go and look at one of the first ones that we can. And I think in this situation, I find something on the very, very, very first rock I look at. And it's none other than diamond. Now you would think diamond has a very, very high resale value, but in the world of the actual universe, diamonds are not as rare as people think they are. They're actually more abundant in the universe than something like gold and silver, because gold and silver need supernova explosions for those to be created. Where carbon is one of the basic elements, and it just needs to be compressed under thousands of foot-pounds of pressure to be able to be changed into diamond. Anyway, we bring up our laser, and we start moving the throttle. In this situation, I have much finer control here than I did over on Daymar, and I don't know why there's more lag on Daymar every time I go there. So let's look at the HUD. The HUD I'm going to talk about in quadrants. The upper left quadrant is my energy graph, and that tells me if I'm balancing my energy. I never want to have it when I'm in the green arc on an angle either up or down that high. You want to keep that line as flat as possible and slightly falling once the energy hits the green curve. Because once the energy in the lower left quadrant, which is going to be the lower bar, gets in that green bar, it's actually going to start inching up towards the red. Now the red is bad. If you stay in the red, if you look at the bottom right quadrant, we'll talk about overcharge. When you overcharge or overload the energy in a rock, it will explode and it will damage you. So you want to keep that line as flat as possible and just falling slightly once it hits the green, so you can, there you go, so you can shatter the rock. The rock has been shattered. Now I'm going to switch over to extraction mode, and I obviously had issues doing that. And I'm going to just start extracting. And the extracting laser looks absolutely different. It's got 3 points, or 3 minor beams, and then a tractor beam right in the center, as it breaks up those fine lines even more so. Now in the lower right quadrant of this one, you see the cargo capacity. As I move over the rocks, or over the shattered node pieces, I can actually suck them into my hold, and I don't have a refiner, so I'm not just sucking up diamond. I'm sucking up a lot of inert material too. So I'm going to find all the purple pieces that I can over here, which are the ones that have been broken down into their finest elements, or their smallest pieces, and I'm going to bring them into my hold just by pointing at them. So I find this to be, although tedious, a lot more interesting, because I have to work at looking at the rock and shattering it, which means managing a system. So now that I picked up the purple pieces, I now have other broken pieces of rock that are yellow. So I have to hit them with the fracture mode one more time. And you'll see me starting to rise that graph a little bit too fast, so I'm going to back off on it in about a second or two. Yeah, you can see it's flattening out right now. And I'm going to try to keep that flat for a few seconds because I don't... Oh, something just happened. Oh, I moved off the rock. So I'm going to try to keep it as flat as I can as I raise it, because now these pieces are smaller. And the energy of my beam will overload them or overcharge them a lot faster, which can cause them to blow up. Now these smaller rocks may not damage my ship as much, but if you overcharge a larger rock that has many thousands of kilograms, you're going to most likely blow your ship up if you're too close, or damage it severely. So we go through this a few times, just being very careful not to overcharge it, and shattering it and filling up our hold with as much of the inert material and diamond as possible. Now it says diamond 1.48%, and what that means, out of the total mass of that rock, 1.48% of it was diamond. So as we're taking all of this shattered material, or fractured material, into our ship, mind you, not all of it is going to be diamond. In fact, very little of it is going to be diamond. And that's something that... Oh, there's a look at the laser. It's kind of cool looking, actually. I think they did this very well. That's something that I think we're going to need to probably play with over time. Because there's a time investment and a payout, right? That reward. So the time investment and reward should be equal to each other. And right now, I think it's a little bit too time consuming to do this, because your hold is very small on the prospector. For you to sit out here and find something like a diamond patch, fill up your hold very quickly, and then need to get out of Dodge. So what I'm thinking is that there needs to be a way to sift through the inert material, cordon off the diamond or whatever the prime material is, and then dump the inert material, so you get back hold space, so you can go and fracture another rock and get more stuff. I think this would make mining just a little bit more productive. It would still take as long for you to find as much, but you would cut down the trips back and forth to sell the items. I'm actually finding this to be rather tedious, to say the least. Alright, so I filled up my hold, and let's get to the next piece. On these fly-free weekends, I'm always very cautious when I go back to Port Olisar. You never know when someone's going to run into you, unintentionally or intentionally, and you never know if someone's just going to open fire at you. So I tend to get myself into the Armistice Zone as quickly as I can. And then I stop the ship just outside the rings, bring up Port Olisar Landing, and land. So I know my hold wasn't completely filled when we left, but I stayed there and I picked up a little bit more diamond, and now I'm coming back. Now I could have looked for hours on end for a better node, could have found the Agricium or one of the other very, very rare elements and come back here and showed you how many thousands of credits you can make, because you can make a lot of credits. But instead, what I did is I came back here to show you how much I made from diamonds. So you don't make mistakes going, oh, diamonds are expensive, let me mine those. Remember, you got to see what's needed inside of the Star Citizen universe, not what might be needed here on Earth. So I've been taking part in this mining profession for about 3 days now. And it's interesting to me. And I'm trying not to sound negative about it, because I'm not. I just am not excited about it yet. But it's 100% definitely the best implementation of mining I've seen in a space game yet. I just wish that they weren't rocks that just came up on the ground, that it was maybe you found a node in the ground and your laser was actually burrowing into the ground. Something more like what you had in Armageddon. So this is the terminal where you sell your mined pieces. And there you get it. You have both inert material and diamond, and we made just over 300 credits. So you can make a lot more. I'm going to be honest with you. I just picked the first node that I came up to. I could have been searching around for a little bit, but I really just wanted to come back here and talk about mining. Well, those are my thoughts. I'm going to keep it up. I like it. With that said, folks, please think about subscribing to the channel. And when you do, please click that bell-shaped icon up above. And if you do subscribe, also think about liking the video, because I put a lot of work into these videos to bring you my opinion and show you off some cool stuff in the game. And if you want to help out the channel more, please go to Patreon, patreon.com/Batgirl. And with that said, everybody, you all be safe out there, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.